Hi, I'm Tim Harrison. I'm the Managing Director of Ionic Rare Earths. We're developing a magnet and heavy rare earth supply chain from our mine project in Uganda into a refinery targeting the US and magnet recycling.
Tim, good to see you. Welcome to London. In fact, welcome to London. You've been rained on.
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
You're soaking.
Wet as a drowned rat.
You're absolutely soaking. I assure everyone it's not sweat, it's rainwater, right?
It's proper wet. The beauty of London weather in November.
Who puts conferences on in winter?
There's a few people.
I think we need to rethink that. Maybe we could take over the industry by just putting on summer events.
Yeah, but you're not the only ones. There's events in Detroit, Frankfurt.
Okay.
So getting up the
Well, hey, we're here to talk about rare earths and where you're at. You're obviously at the conference at the moment. It sounds quite busy. Lots more institutional investors there, I'm hearing as well.
A lot of the groups that we've been talking with for the last 18 months. So wanting a refresh, where are we at? How are we going, progressing the strategy? It's extremely busy.
Good.
Back to back.
And so you're saying it's just refresh for some of the people you've been talking to, updates for existing shareholders. You're not chasing new money.
No.
Okay.
No, we've got plenty of money in the bank.
Yeah.
A lot of catalysts on the cusp. So.
Okay, you got a lot of catalysts on the cusp, but not a lot of action with regards to share price. It's kind of it's not performing at the moment. What's happening?
It's not performing. We're building, right? We're actually getting work done. So the challenge is that, feeding that pipeline of news flow requires the work to be done behind the scenes, which we've been doing. Right. So the focus is now around finalising the mining licence application, finalising the scoping study on the refinery, and getting progress delivered in Belfast.
Right, okay. Let's come on to Belfast in a second, because I want to kind of remind people perhaps that coming new. So tell people coming into this new a little bit about it, and also remind people who are already sort of aware how you've moved things along. Okay, so first of all, it's a big project.
Makuutu?
Yeah.
It's massive.
Right.
Globally
significant.
From end to end, it's 20 miles. It's the size of Manhattan. It is a massive project. So we're looking at a long life project that's going to have, it's multi-decade. So getting it right up front is imperative.
Right. So where are you at in terms of actually solving it, how you extract these minerals, metals, effectively, efficiently, more importantly, economically? Because it's all well and good having it there, but you've got to make money. Yes,
so we're working on the mining licence application right now.
Right.
So finalising the economic case to submit to the Ugandan government. We've got the team looking at a couple of scenarios, a couple of options to reduce operating cost. So we're working on that right now. We want to get that mining licence application in as soon as possible so that we can get that mining licence approved in the first quarter of next year, so that we can move then on to a demonstration plant, a proof of concept.
Right. Proof of concept, crikey. I hope it's more than that, in the sense that proof of economic concepts, because that's come back to the question. It's like, I get the applications and the permits and the license, you need those things to move forward, but what do we know now in terms of the metallurgy, in terms of your ability to extract efficiently?
Okay, we've made an assumption that we can stack the ore to 3 metres. That's based upon the data that we've been able to glean from China. Test work suggests we can go up to 6 metres. I want to demonstrate that at scale, because that's something we can fold directly into the project. It's an immediate capital opportunity. So capacity increase from day one. We also want to look at producing larger amounts of product for us to take downstream. The validation of the refinery, the piloting of the refinery, providing samples to potential end users. All of that comes from much larger test work at scale to de-risk the project and position it to take it forward.
Okay, that makes me kind of nervous, that language of we've taken data from China to make some assumptions here. We've done some test work that suggests we can maybe get to 6 metres and stuff. So where are you at in terms of, where's the kind of robustness to that component? That's what people will be interested in.
We've got an economic case that's taking forward, which has got some reasonably conservative assumptions with opportunity for improvement. We want to validate that improvement so we can fold it into the project going forward. So it's really upside.
Right. Okay. I'm more interested in the science, but
Yeah.
I want to see. The assumptions are just that, and for having a big, large deposit like that, globally significant deposit like that, assumptions need to be proved pretty darn quickly. So, what sort of time frame are we looking at until we get to those economics?
I think we work through that demonstration plant for 6 to 9 months through next year, while we're getting the mineral development agreement agreed with the Ugandan government, while we're getting ready for final investment decision. Like, there is a process that we need to work through to get financing for the project. So we're going to do this in parallel.
Okay, so you're getting stuff done at the moment. You're working towards those things. Money, you say you've got stacks of money at the moment. Lovely. How much? What are we looking at?
I think 23 million at the end of the last quarter.
Oh, so good. And you're burning through that at what rate?
About $1 million a month.
So, okay, right, fine. When you get to demo plant stage, I mean, what sort of scale is that? What's that going to cost you?
Yeah, look, it's not hugely capital intensive. I mean, we're digging stuff out of the ground. We're stacking it on a heap, so it's earthworks, it's pads, it's drainage. There's a bit of kit at the back end. It's probably going to be somewhere between $5 and $8 million for us to do that.
Right, okay.
But it's sequenced.
Right. Ugandan government worry. I mean, what's the kind of, we see projects all around the world getting held up because of EIA concerns. You've got Lake Victoria Dam.
We've got ours.
You've got yours. Fantastic. So that's good news.
Yep.
So how long did that process take?
That was a 9-month process, 10-month process.
Interesting. Right. Because
We've got it.
Yeah, that's helpful. So the kind of the Uganda bit, you sound like you know what you're doing there.
Yep.
Good. You've got Belfast, you've got the technology bit.
Yes.
Rebranded technology bit. What's happening there?
So new facility, Titanic Quarter.
Yeah.
Setting up
Belfast.
Belfast.
Built but Titanic was built in Belfast.
Yes.
Harland and Wolff shipyards. There you go.
Well, we're not far from there.
Very good.
So the Titanic Quarter in Belfast. New facility. We kitted it out. Wet labs, hydrometallurgical labs, demonstration plant, pilot plant. It's all there. So we've got equipment now coming in, and very excited about what's coming in the next few months.
Right. So how did you get that? Was that through the Irish Development Agency or something like that?
Just hard work.
Taxing for business. No, but it's set up for you, right? It's not. You're not going to be.
We've gone in there. We've spent the money. We're spending a substantial amount of money to take the technology out of Queen's University Belfast, set up our own dedicated facility.
Yeah.
Bring in people. Adding capability to the team.
Right.
With a view to accelerating that technology, but also supporting the work we're doing on the refinery. So bring it all in house because we're at the cutting edge.
Yeah, but it's set up specifically for your project.
Yeah,
project, like
that's
you own that
our facility. Yep.
Okay, so talking about icebergs, how do we make sure that this thing doesn't, come a cropper? What are the things that is concerning, the red flags that you're sort of dealing with in terms of getting stuff done?
People.
Getting people.
Skills.
Right,
so
okay.
we've been able to bring new resources in. We've added a number of team members over the last few months. In the last 2 months, we've added probably about 5 people.
Right.
Impressively, in the last 2 months, I'm now starting to see product.
Okay.
So
what are you producing?
We're producing a series of different rare earth products
Lights
in
and
that
heavies?
process. So we're producing magnet rare earths.
Right. Okay.
So this is
that's the thing people understand.
The technology
and know.
unlock.
Yeah, it is because the automotive industry needs it, right? That's the crime. And wind turbines, etc., etc. Okay. What are the other kind of products that you will be trying to create?
So from the magnet recycling, we produce all the magnet rare earths. So neodymium, praseodymium, dysprosium, terbium.
Right.
So we're working on that now. We're producing those products in Belfast.
Okay.
When we do the refinery, we'll produce all 15 rare earths plus scandium.
Okay.
Unique.
Yeah.
No one else playing in this space.
Okay.
Other than the Chinese. So we're in a very unique position where we have a lot of engagement with various groups globally, and desperation is probably the best word for that product to be placed into their manufacturing.
Well, does that change your thinking? So when we first talked, you were way back when we first met, China. We'll sell to China, no problemo. Now, different kind of geopolitical environment, the Russia-Ukraine situation has changed that. Big emphasis on critical minerals now. the list's always existed, but no one really kind of paid much attention to it. Does that change where you go and get your money from? Does the money tell you where you can and cannot sell your product?
Interesting question, Matt. The focus for us now is very much to place this unique basket into a market that can't get it anywhere else.
Well, that's
why we're looking at the refinery in the US.
Right. There we go. And is that you've decided to do that? You've said, well, actually, this is looking all a bit murky out there. We're not quite sure where China sits in this.
Oh no, the Chinese want it.
I know they want it. You know, they are the rare earths.
Who's going to pay the most for it?
Right. There you go. That's the question.
And it comes back to energy, right? Because refining rare earths is energy intensive. It's the energy required to make the reagents that go into the separation of all 15 rare earth elements. So energy is important, and we're zeroing in on a location. We'll update the market in the near term on where that location shall be.
Very good. But I think that's the exciting bit here. And it may kind of give you the exposure, which I think is not, it doesn't feel like it's kind of there. I know you said we're kind of getting on and doing stuff, and stuff doesn't happen until we kind of get this stuff done. But I'm looking for that kind of step change moment where there's a kind of realization where it all kind of comes together. So in your head, that the timing of that is what?
Well, refinery, we're aiming on getting that study completed before the end of this year, probably updating the market in the early new year. Huge amount of work going on.
Right.
Like, I can't impress upon, this is not a trivial exercise. Get it right, measure twice, cut once. Right? Position ourselves with the right location, and away we go. 2023 is going to be fantastic. Okay.
And when does this, because it always takes it longer than anyone thinks, and it's hard as mining, it's slightly technical in your case as well, right? Slightly. As in, there aren't too many people who know how to do this outside of China, right? So it's when you're hiring people, I know that's a big deal. When do we get to the money bit? When does this thing, what are we aiming for?
So
I'm a bit old school. I like money, right?
We all do,
right?
Matt.
But we've got to get there.
That's why we're doing it, right? For us to legitimately look at developing a rare earth supply chain, one doesn't simply build a mine, one doesn't simply build a refinery. There is also metal making, there is alloy making, there is magnet making. We've got to grow, we've got to stimulate that downstream supply chain, and that's a big focus at the moment. Who is going to be part of our partner, our downstream supply chain? Because we can't just simply say, we're going to do this, and we're going to build this, and where's the product going to go? If that downstream supply chain doesn't exist ex-China, where's our product going? China.
Yeah, and that's I think people need to understand, or people need to understand. It's problematic if you've kind of got China somewhere in that supply chain.
I think there's a lack of understanding. That these new supply chains that the world wants to build. There is a desire to have an ex-China strategy.
Absolutely.
And there is no point having a refinery without a dedicated downstream metal making, alloy making, magnet making.
So there's lots of gaps in that chain at the moment, right? And that can be a problem. Well, it's a problem if you don't know that, but if you do know it and you can bring that together, it's fantastic. Not too many people. We've seen a kind of big kind of US group come at rare earths in their own way. There's the Energy Fuel guys with the monazite.
Yes.
And they're kind of trying to create their kind of critical minerals hub with NEO, I think.
Yes.
Outside of that, are you sort of aware of other groups successfully doing this?
Well,
I'm trying to work out what the opportunity is.
No one's making them right now.
Right. Okay.
Lots of talk, lots of opportunity, but importantly, to make a magnet, you don't just need NdPr. You need DyTb.
Yeah.
Where's the DyTb coming from?
Yeah. Same place. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay.
That's our opportunity. There is no magnets being produced without DyTb.
Okay. So you feel you're kind of this whole kind of holistic kind of basket plus the scandium is the USP plus the scale plus the multi-generational, we'll call it, or multi-decade, however you want to look at it.
Makuutu has the potential to support more than one refinery.
Right.
So whilst the first refinery potentially is going to be in the US, there is no, Makuutu is a very large beast.
Right. So what type of money is going to come in here? Because again, it's, people sort of know Lioness and they know MP and that's it. I know there are a few other sort of players around, but that's people's universe, right? So therefore, financiers haven't got much of a reference point in terms of peer analysis, and Rare Earths has been kind of a little bit erratic in terms of pricing in the past. But right now, we're kind of coming to a critical lists moment where people are seeing this bifurcation of the market, ex-China and the rest of the world. So I'm just keen, how do you take advantage of that in terms of inserting yourself, building it, and more importantly, financing it?
So importantly, we're starting to engage, we've been engaging with end users now for a while. Certain number of those end users are starting for the penny to drop. Mm-hmm. Realization of just what a conundrum they're in. Mm. When they look at where those metals are going to come from, where those elements are going to come from, it's a very, very, very short list.
Yeah, but that's my point. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Fantastic for us,
right? Because
that's us,
right? No, I know that, but again, the money needs to understand what the hell it's doing, right? They've got to feel confident, and you've got to give them that confidence. But if there's very little reference point, they're like, "Geez, man, is this risky or is this genius? I don't know." And therefore, what's the cost of that money to you, and who's giving it to you?
There's a massive process that we've been undertaking on education.
Right.
Engaging on several continents to impress upon different end users that this is a finite decision. Like, there is not enough. Simply put, who moves first lives.
Right, so you think, right, first mover advantage, great. But it's the kind of conversation I hear a lot, right? Every single commodity, every single metal, every single mineral, is like, we're running out of this stuff. And it's all true, but it kind of wears a bit thin after a while. So on the kind of critical minerals side of things, the fact that you're having to do the education is my point, really, right? You've got these bankers, like I was ex-banker, when you guys come in and tell me we're all running out of this stuff, scarcity, you should be terrified. Plus, you can make a lot of money here. That's kind of, I'm not quite sure if it's a good environment to be working, or because there's a big opportunity, or if it's, man, you spend so many times educating people.
I think everyone is more familiar with the lithium-ion battery story.
Right.
Battery metals. Rare Earths just popped up on the radar earlier this year.
Yeah.
They've gone, we've got to buy Rare Earths too.
Yeah, is that in the battery or the mic? I know.
No,
do you know what I mean?
But these are the questions that we face. Does it go into the battery or the magnet or the motor? And it's like, well, guys, a very late discussion, right?
I know.
to be having here, but that is the reality.
Yeah.
This thing really kicked off earlier this year.
Okay.
And we sit down, we have discussions, and they put up on the board, these are the rare earths we need. And I look at the board and they've got NdPr, neodymium and dysprosium. There's no understanding of the requirement for praseodymium and the ability that praseodymium plays in substituting out neodymium.
Yeah.
No understanding of the requirement for terbium.
Yeah.
It is very early doors. And so that whole process of engagement, saying this is our basket, this is what we can do, and then work through that process of saying, right, well, how many EVs do you actually want to make?
Yeah.
And what can we do?
Yeah.
And how much you want to pay for it?
Well, no, but and just on the money, because the money's going to make the world go around on this, right? Where you've got people who you do offtake agreements, lovely, or metal traders will buy it off you. That's old school stuff, right?
Yep.
What we've also seen a lot of, and people who invest in lithium will know this, and even cobalt to a degree, is that you kind of got battery manufacturers and OEMs kind of moving further upstream to kind of capture an surety over their supply chain from 2025 and further. The types of conversation, in terms of money, the types of conversations that you're having, do they include industry, or is it just the institutionals? Very much industry. Right. Okay. Interesting.
So last week we were in Detroit. We're sitting down, we're talking, we're hearing from the leaders of Ford, of GM, Stellantis, all of them identifying their requirement for what they want to do. The investment in electrification of automotive is massive. They That is committed capital. We saw the DOE deploy $2.8 billion in the lithium-ion battery space. It's not rare earths.
Yeah.
Rare earths is coming.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a significant investment because it's not just the mining, the refining, it's the metal making, it's the alloy making, it's the magnet making to make a fully insulated supply chain ex-China.
Yeah. That's exciting.
It is massive. And I don't think, certainly from Australia's a long way away from the US, the understanding of what is happening there, the level of capital deployment is unbelievable. It is on.
No, the train's definitely left the station, right? Hundreds of billions of dollars invested by the car manufacturers, let alone the regular battery guys. So this will be what we're going to create, and we need to fill that. There's lots that needs to go into
Jim
that
Farley,
bucket. Right.
CEO Ford, last week said, the last 60 years have been very boring. Where the transition is happening right now within those EV companies, there is a pivot, a massive pivot going on in automotive manufacturing, which cannot be, it's very hard to communicate exactly how big this is going to be, but it is massively transformational.
Okay. Look, I like the fact that it's a kind of boring period, isn't it? It's a very boring period. I'm doing stuff. I got the message. We're getting stuff done now to set ourselves up. Because my question is about, when does the step change come? When does that step change come to the share price? When does step change come in terms of your ability to insert yourself into this new supply chain that we're talking about? So sounds like 2023 is...
2023 is another
thing.
Yeah. Rome wasn't built in a day. What are we doing? We're building Rome. We're building a completely new supply chain on rare earths. China's been at it for over 50 years. We're not simply going to build a mine and then wake up tomorrow and say we're going to build a refinery. We've got to build the human capital to build the metal making, the alloy making, the magnet making. We've got to seed that. This is where we're at right now. We're trying to grow this because there is no point us building a mine or a refinery without having the destination for the product to go into that market.
Good luck, mate.
Thanks, Matt.
Sounds like it's going well. So appreciate you coming today and talking to us about it. You dried out as well. Brilliant.
Yeah. Go back out in the rain now.
Yeah. Good luck to you. Okay.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Matt.